I'm Kyle Ferrara.
And I'm Brandon Sieteski, filling in for Brandon Rudd.
This is hashtag Griff Sports, and we've got a lot to get to today, as many of your Golden Griffin teams are in the home stretch of their season, while some others are just getting theirs underway, as we're at the point on the schedule where the winter and spring seasons begin to merge. Griff Sports contributor Joe Rutigliano will join me in a little bit, but our first order of business, the Griffs beat Niagara.
Yeah, and they did it on the Purple Eagles' home court at the Gallagher Center. It was the Griffs' first win over Niagara in the Gallagher Center since November 20th, 2002. They had been on a 9-game losing streak in that building before their 77-70 win on Sunday. They're now 16-9 overall and 9-5 in the MAC. Let's take a look at how it went down.
Loud here, folks. It is great. This is what it's all about in Western New York college basketball. I think that Isaac Sosa, far corner, knocks down a three. 6-4 in favor of Canisius. Niagara in his zone now. Sosa pulls up just inside the arc and he knocks it down. Isaac Sosa with 5. And Barron rises up far side. His three, no good. Rebound tapped around. Harold Washington, his putback is good. 14-9 Canisius. Harold Washington, and he looks to push. Washington to Barron. Lays it up and in. Griff leads 16-9. McCall gets it inside to Klein. His floater rejected by Jordan Heath. Washington pulls up his three. Back rim no good. Rebound controlled by Manhertz. His putback goes down. 18-13 Canisius. Barron still with the basketball. Barron looks to drive. Gets inside and puts it home. 4 for Barron in the Griffs lead 2013. Heath. Barron looks to go again. Goes to the rack again. Misses. But the follow. Jamming it home. It's Chris Manhertz. Harold Washington slashes in the paint. His floater good. Harold Washington with 7, and the Griffs lead 26. 20 in the front court. Crosses over. Goes to the rack. He's fouled. Count it. Billy Barron will go to the line. A chance. Barron gets inside. Off balance. Off glass and good. 22 for Billy Barron. Barron finds the upper man. Harold Washington for 3. Nothing but net. Griffs back in the lead by 4. Billy Barron off the screen. Takes a 3. Knocks it down. Griffs in the lead. This side, Sosa. Step back jumper from the corner. Knocks it down. That's a deuce. We're tied at 64. Clutch shot by the senior. Looks to go. Gets inside. Got it. Billy Barron will go to the line. A chance to finish a 3-point play as he is plastered to the hardwood by Devin White. Niagara and the ball sweeps on the floor. Niagara comes away with it, and here come the Purple Eagles with numbers. McCall. His pass deflected and intercepted by Washington. Harold off to the races. He goes to the rack, lays it up, no good. And more on the foul. Jamming hard is Jordan Heath. And Canisius wants a timeout.
At the Canisius student section, because Josiah Heath made the play on defense there. As McCall drove into the lane, Heath spread his arms out and got the deflection off his forearm, and it wound up in the hands of Harold Washington. A heads-up play by Josiah Heath turns into a flush for his brother Jordan Heath.
Best part is the walk of the Niagara fans heading to the exit. Nothing to celebrate for them today. This is going to be Canisius' day. The sounds Griffs win. First time in a decade, Canisius winning at the Gallagher Center, which is huge in terms of this rivalry, but Mike Scott also big in terms of the standings.
Wow, that's exciting from the Gallagher Center. How were they able to get this win, Kyle?
Well, they did it behind a career-best performance from junior guard Billy Barron. He had a career-high 33 points in 38 minutes of play. It was the highest scoring output for a Canisius player in a road game since former Griff Michael Meeks scored 36 in a win at Pennsylvania on November the 16th, 1994. For some perspective on that, I was just 18 months old when that happened.
It was certainly a performance that is going to be remembered at Canisius for a long time. This is the way they'll need Billy to perform the rest of the way. Not that he needs to put up a career high in points every night, but he's clearly the heart and soul of the team.
That's true, and he can clearly take the pressure that comes along with that position as the leader of this team. No matter where the Griffs have played on the road, opposing fans have given him a lot of heat for following his dad here at Canisius, and Niagara specifically has taken to chanting "Daddy's boy" whenever he touches the ball, but he hasn't let that get to him.
No, in fact, at the game on Sunday, he stole a "Daddy's boy" sign from the crowd and posed for a picture with it, just to stick it in the face of Niagara a little bit more. Kyle, if you had to describe the picture in one word, what would it be?
Well, I'd use the word bodacious, first of all, because anytime you have the opportunity to use the word bodacious, you should take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
But that was just such a bold move to show that nothing's going to get to him in this team's quest to win a MAC championship.
And obviously, there's no I in team, but I think it's obvious that he's got the whole team playing up to their potential and believing that they can be the best team in the MAC.
Absolutely, and before the season started, we heard players like Billy and Harold Washington, who scored 18 in the game on Sunday, say that the team's goal was to win a MAC championship. But until we saw them play, those words were kind of empty because we haven't seen them do it for so long.
And they've already shocked the world with the way they've competed so far, and they're now in a position to take the final step. But before everybody gets too far overboard, we should point out that Niagara was playing without one of their key players, Antoine Mason. Isn't it fair to say that the fact that they did not have him on the court impacted this game?
Yeah, I think that's fair, but remember how close the first game between these two teams was, and Mason did play in that one. I know the players for the Griffs who talked to the media afterwards all felt like that was a game that they lost rather than a game that Niagara won. So I think the Griffs have the ability to beat Niagara, even with Mason in the lineup.
Another thing that makes such a big win, in the fact that the Griffs were able to recover from a bad loss on the road against Manhattan. Alshwan Himes led the Griffs with 16 points in his first start of the season, but the Griffs fell by a final score of 67-54.
And the game wasn't even as close as that score indicated, as the Griffs were down 20 most of the second half. We'll show you just how tough of a loss that was right now as we take you around the MAC.
Let's start with men's basketball. A lot of upsets from Thursday and Friday's action. Rider knocked off first-place Niagara 72-69, while Marius took out Iona 105-104 in a game that went into double overtime. Loyola was the only team in the top four to win on Thursday or Friday.
The rest of the weekend featured a few surprises as well. Other than the Griffs' win against Niagara, Marist won their second straight game against the top four team, beating Loyola 69-64.
So if you take a look at the standings, you'll see why the Griffs loss to Manhattan a week ago was so disappointing. Niagara is still in first place despite losing 4 in a row to Loyola. Canisius and Iona are one game back, so you can see that if the Griffs had beaten Manhattan, they'd be tied with Niagara at 10-4. And by virtue of an overall record, they'd be in first place.
So the top four teams all went 1-1 last weekend, and Rider and Fairfield are also hanging around just 2 games behind first place Niagara. They could be trouble as we approach the MAC tournament.
The Griffs have just 2 home games remaining, February 28th against St. Peter's and March 2nd versus Marius. We're going to show you a quick video to get you excited about the last few weeks of Griffs basketball.
All right, let's take care of our business. Get back here, guys. Let's go.
Family on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Good, step up. Good, step up.
This is not the one time you set a screen.
Good, step. Good, ball. Good, step up. Good, step. Take it easy. Good, step. Right. Good, step. Here we go. Go. Wake up. Let's wake up. Good, step. Go. Double step. Double step.
I don't know about you, Brandon, but that gave me the chills a little bit.
That gave me
right
a lot
there.
of chills too. A great video, as is to be said, sure to come out and pack the CAC when the Griffs return home on the 28th. Coach Barrett and the entire team needs your support. We also want to make a correction. The final 2 games will be St. Peter's and Rider.
We're going to get to women's basketball and hockey a bit later in the show. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'll be joined by Joe Rutigliano to preview the women's lacrosse, baseball, and softball seasons.
Stay with us. This is #Griff Sports.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want help, but they don't really know how. Well, teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
If you can say with me, imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite.
Unearth hidden passion.
Mama, have a good time.
And seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
To change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall.
And make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first thing that helps to change a life.
People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Welcome back to #Griff Sports. I'm now joined by a frequent contributor to the show, Joe Rutigliano. Joe, how are you doing today?
Good, Kyle. Thanks for having me back.
Well, glad to have you back, and we want to preview a couple of the spring sports right now. I know you work with the women's lacrosse team. Can you tell us a little bit about your role with them?
Yeah, I'm the team manager's my title, and basically what I do for women's lacrosse is I take footage and I break down film. I put videos together for coaches and the team and stuff like that. So I do a lot of work with video. I also film. If you go to any of the games, you'll see me on the field filming for the team usually.
Exciting role for you. And what are the expectations for the team coming into the season?
Well, Coach Teeter said it a number of times, whether it was in an interview or what have you. The expectation is to win a MAC championship. They've won 2 in a row. They're a solid squad. They did lose some scoring last year, but that shouldn't set them back at all. And then beyond that, they expect to move on in the NCAA tournament. Now, for the last 2 years, they've lost to the University of Massachusetts, a ranked team, very, very talented team. Last year was the closest one. They lost 13-12 on somewhat of a buzzer beater. They had a free position shot with about 8 seconds left, and the girl converted it and broke our hearts. But hey, this is a new year, and they're here to compete, so it should be exciting.
It's a tough way to end the season, but you're right, new year, new season, hope for a better result. Can we talk about a little bit about who the key players for this team are?
Well, key players are definitely going to be seniors Morgan Leonard, Lindsey Morgan, also junior Maria Cotis. Lindsey Morgan was All-MAC, preseason All-MAC, along with Morgan Leonard, who was the preseason player of the year. Also, Maria Cotis' sister, Gabe Cotis, she was also preseason All-MAC. She's a very talented defender. Morgan and Lindsey are also very talented midfield and attack players, so it should be exciting. Also, we've got some 3 great goalies to kind of be the backbone of that defense. Freshman Claudia Colliates got the start yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday, Sunday. Also, they've got sophomore Kayla Scully and senior Gina Malfetta, so it should be an exciting year. They've got a lot of talent, so we're excited.
And you mentioned the game on Sunday. You also mentioned Maria Cotis, who I believe had a goal in that game. But can you tell us your take on that loss at Louisville?
Tough loss. Louisville's a good school. They play, in the Big East, of course. It was rough. They definitely came out. They came to play, but turnovers killed the Griffs in the long run, and also the Griffs couldn't score. We just couldn't buy a goal, and Louisville came out, converted on a lot of their shots. Our goalies played strong, actually, made I think 15 saves, so it was a good showing by our goalies, but we couldn't quite come out with the victory. Louisville, a lot of firepower. I'm sure that in the next game when the Griffs host Cornell on February 23rd, that it's going to be a much better showing from the girls.
Yeah, and it was tough, but you're right, there's a long way to go still. I don't want to get you in trouble since you work with the team, but do you have a prediction for how they might finish?
Oh, I don't know why my prediction would get me in trouble. Prediction, first place. Well, I don't know. Fairfield hasn't lost in conference play in the regular season in, I think it's like 4 years, something ridiculous. And in the last 2 years, the Griffs have lost close games to Fairfield in regular season, but when it's counted, the Griffs have won it. So if not first place, I think definitely the Griffs will win the MACs again. Why not? They play great in the postseason.
Well, we'll be looking forward to a great season then. And now let's switch gears a little bit. You don't work with either of the baseball or softball teams, but we'll be calling some of the games for the Golden Griffins Broadcast Network. Let's talk about baseball first. They were picked to finish second in the MAC in the coaches' preseason poll. What can we expect from them this season?
Well, I think you're gonna see a lot of talent come out of their team. They've got a lot of guys that right now are not at the peak of their game, but are getting looks from the next level. You know, and I think that last year, you know, they lost in the MAC championship game against Manhattan, who was picked first in the poll. Manhattan lost some guys. They're not as good anymore, I'd say. And our team's hungry. One of their sayings is, big dog's got to eat, and they haven't eaten in a while. So I'd say that the guys are ready to go, and they open up this Friday against Albany. And to tell you what, this team is one of the more talented baseball teams I've seen. They're also very deep. They've got a couple of freshmen coming in that are solid. And, you know, their leadership up top is very good. Coach McCray is a solid coach. He knows everything you can know about baseball. So it should be an interesting run for them. I'm excited to follow them.
Yeah, it definitely should be exciting, and I'm excited to call the games and be a part of it this season. One of the players who got preseason honors was Garrett Courtwright. Along with him, who are some of their top players?
Well, you've got to look at his other man on the pitching staff, and that's Devin Stewart, who was a freshman All-American last year. He's a very talented pitcher, both righties. They're solid on the hill. Also, you've got Jose Torralba in the middle infield paired with Ronnie Bernick, both great defensive and offensive players. And then in the outfield, you've got solid speedsters like Mike Krish, who are excited to, you know, make an impact. Last year, Krish got a chance to play, but I don't know I don't think his numbers were where he wanted them to be. You've also got Chris Guerin, who's also very good. Your backstop, Brooklyn Foster, who's actually drafted out of high school, but he decided to play junior college and then come here first. There's a bunch of talent out there that I'm not even mentioning. They're a very deep team. I'm excited to see, you know, what happens. They should go deep into May, and who knows, maybe even the College World Series. So
that would be big. I think you just kind of gave us a little bit of your prediction right there. You think they're going to make it to the College World Series?
Yeah, absolutely. I think last year was not a letdown, but they were right there. You know, they were 1 out away in the first of the two kind of championship games because it's double elimination and the Griffs hadn't lost yet. And they were right there. Both games very close, came down to the last couple of innings. So yeah, I think they're still right there. They lost some guys, but they rebuilt themselves well, and I don't think they'll miss a beat. And honestly, I think they've got a shot at going to, who knows, whether it's South Carolina or LSU or whatever. So it should be interesting.
Well, we should definitely be looking forward to their season then. One quick note we want to make before moving on to softball. Former Griffs pitcher Chris Cox was signed to a minor league contract by the Arizona Diamondbacks. We wish him the best of luck in his professional baseball career. Now moving on to softball, we're going to ask some of the same questions. And when I was looking at them, their preseason looked similar to baseball. They finished a tie in third in the MAC, and they had pitcher Jen Consul win MAC preseason honors. Tell us what we can expect from the softball team.
Well, the softball team's also talented. Last year they did make the MAC tournament. I talked to assistant coach Kim Griffin today, and she said that they're gonna compete as well as anybody. I know that they've got a bunch of solid hitters. Offensively, they can produce. I think she mentioned Katie Medina, who's a fifth-year senior, Robin Kennery, Val Napo. So those should be players to look out for offensively. And then, as you mentioned, Jen Consul and Amanda Bond should be their aces on the hill. Consul is very talented. We've seen over the last 2 years that she's pitched well for the Griffs, and hopefully she can continue it this year.
Oh, we would hope so, and they'll get started this weekend along with baseball as they look for 2 very exciting seasons. What's your prediction with softball? You talked about baseball, but
softball, I think that they're going to go to the tournament, to go to the MAC tournament for sure, and I think that they can make a run. You know, anything can happen in those couple of days. I know they were picked 3rd, so maybe people aren't necessarily looking at them to be, you know, the top team, but something about Canisius and softball, you know, they've one of the most accomplished sports here at Canisius, so I don't see why any of that magic can't come back in, you know, late April or early May this year, so it should be exciting.
That's definitely true, and there's always going to be a team that finishes maybe higher than they were expected or lower than they were expected, so you never do know. Which of these 3 sports are you most excited for coming up?
Oh, women's lacrosse, by far. Don't get me wrong, I am excited for baseball and for softball, but you know, there's something about women's lacrosse. You know, I get to work for them, I get to see the behind the scenes, I get to see them on the field, and I get to see them put it all together. That's really, you know, one of the most exciting parts is seeing how maybe, you know, everybody at practice doesn't always have their best days, but it can be so discombobulated or whatever, and then when they get on the field, and it's pretty when they put it all together and, you know, hang 20 on Niagara like they did last year. It'd be nice to see again. So, you know, I'm excited for both. You know, we get to call baseball and softball this year, which is really exciting. So, but I'm going to go women's lacrosse.
All right, fair point. Being from Ohio, not this is an Ohio thing. I don't know why I just said that. I've never really been into lacrosse. It wasn't big at my high school. Maybe that's why I said it. But we're excited for all 3 of these sports coming up. Joe, thanks for being with us today, and we'll look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you very much, sir.
And quick break. When we come back, Brandon Sieteski will rejoin me. We'll dissect what Joe and I just talked about, and we'll get a little bit into women's basketball and hockey as well. Stay tuned. This is #Griff Sports.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to #Griff Sports. I'm now rejoined by Brandon Sieteski. And Brandon, based on what Joe just talked about, which of these 3 teams are you most excited for coming up?
I'm most excited for baseball. I mean, I've been a baseball fan since I was just a little kid going to Buffalo Bison's games. And, you know, our team looks like we're going to have a good season this year. Garrett Courtwright's going to come back here. He's on the 2nd All-MAC team this year. You know, we're returning 8 of 9 starters, which is always good, especially on the collegiate level when you can have multiple starters come back. I'm really excited for baseball. Like I said, I've been a big baseball fan most of my life, and I just feel like we're going to have a good team this year. And they're projecting us right now at number 2, but I feel like we are going to go right up to number 1.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I also am a huge baseball fan. It was really my first love. But I'm going to go with softball now, and similarly, they were picked in a tie for 3rd. High up in the MAC standings. Jen Consul got similar honors to Garrett Courtwright. Both these teams should have really exciting seasons, and it should be fun to follow them all year long.
Let's circle back now to women's basketball. They have been struggling of late. They did get back in the win column by beating Loyola 48-39, but that was a very ugly win. What happened in that one, Kyle?
Well, obviously it was a very low-scoring game, and a win is a win, but it wasn't the most encouraging win. They still struggled to score. Ashley Durham led the team with just 11 points, while Jamie Ruddle also contributed a double-double with 10 points and 10 boards. They made some good second-half adjustments to score some points off of Loyola's zone defense, but overall, there just wasn't much to take away from this game.
As we mentioned, it wasn't a pretty win, but it's a win. And the Griffs have been on a 3-game losing streak going into it, including an awful loss to St. Peter's last Thursday. St. Peter's 74-65 win was just their second on the year. They scored a season-high 74 points, and it was the first time they had broken 70 all season. Guard Ariza May led all players with 29 points, while Ashley Durham led the Griffs with 16.
There just wasn't much good to say about the team this weekend, unfortunately. On the post-game show following the loss on Thursday, the voice of the Griffs, Mike Scott, and I tried to come up with a silver lining for this team, but we couldn't do it. They're still starting the game off slowly. They aren't scoring well inside, and until the game against Loyola, they hadn't played good man defense. Coach Zay likes to call it guarding your yard, and they just haven't done that of late.
But while the women's basketball team struggled, Griffs hockey surprised everyone with a 2-0 upset over rival Niagara, who was ranked 15th in the country. They got a tremendous effort from goalie Tony Cabonquillo and goals from Ryan Bohr and Corey Freeman.
It was a tremendous win for the Griffs, and they did it on Niagara's home ice, so the Purple Eagles were really unable to defend their home territory against Canisius this weekend. Niagara did come back and get a 2-0 win in the second game of their 2-game weekend series, but a split against the 15th ranked team in the country is nothing to sneeze at. I want to talk about what these games mean for the Battle of the Bridge, but before we do that, let's finish up covering what happened around the MAC this week.
And we'll take a look at women's basketball right now. From Thursday and Friday, there were 2 battles between top 5 teams in the MAC. Ryder beat Fairfield by 11, and Marius knocked down off Iona 63-40 to remain perfect in conference play.
Over the rest of the weekend, Iona annihilated Ryder in a 30-point victory, while Marist continued their dominance, beating Siena 66-48.
Marist is still perfect, but behind him with 5 teams and 2 games of each with records at least 500 in MAC play. Canisius is still in the group, but they are the outskirts for right now.
Let's wrap things up with Atlantic hockey. In Thursday through Saturday's action, we saw RIT and Robert Morris split their 2-game series, while Air Force and Mercyhurst finished in a 2-2 tie in their game on Saturday.
Sunday and Monday brought us a couple of shutouts. American International beat Army 3-0, and Connecticut smoked Bentley 9-0.
So the standings are now as follows. Niagara is still running away with things at the top, but the middle of the pack is not quite as tight as it has been. There appears to be just 3 teams competing for second now, in Mercyhurst, Air Force, and Holy Cross, as they all have just 6 or 7 losses, while 7 teams behind them, including the Griffs, have 9 to 11 losses. Sacred Heart is still winless on the season.
We mentioned the Battle of the Bridge earlier. We'll get to that coming up next after this commercial break, and we'll also take a look at what's ahead for the Griffins.
Don't go anywhere. This is #GriffSports.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Can you consent with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more.
So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child.
So let's join hands, book people unite.
Unearth hidden passion.
Come on, we'll have a good time.
Plant seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
To change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall, and make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first thing that helps to change a life. People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
And we're back. I think we've teased it long enough, Brandon. 2 weeks ago, Joe Rutigliano and I talked about the Battle of the Bridge. Well, the 3 battles between Canisius and Niagara last weekend had a big impact in favor of the Griffs in the scoring.
With their 2 victories, the Griffs picked up 3 points. Niagara only gained 1 point on the weekend. The score is now at 11-8 in favor of Niagara. But there is more at stake this weekend, and swimming diving competes in the MAC Championship. 2 points will be awarded to the school that finishes higher on both men's and women's side.
I've been covering swimming and diving all year for the Griffin, and I have to say I feel good about the Griff's chances at MACs, which are held from Thursday to Saturday. Head coach Scott Vanderzel has described this group as disciplined and determined, and they have a good mix of youth and experience. I think the Griffs will finish well at MACs, and I'd look for them to pull even closer to Niagara in the Battle of the Bridge if they don't jump ahead of them.
It should be a fun weekend with the swimmers and divers competing at the Flicker Center in Buffalo. Let's take a look now at what's happening for the Griffs this week.
On Thursday, the women's basketball team will play on the road against Fairfield, while the guys' team plays at Loyola.
Friday sees Griffs baseball get their season underway with a game against Albany and Cary, North Carolina. Hockey will also take on Air Force on the road.
Saturday features baseball and softball doubleheaders, while hockey will again play Air Force, and the men's and women's basketball teams will play on the road against St. Peter's and Iona, respectively.
On Sunday, we again have a doubleheader for the Griffs. Softball in Cleveland, Ohio, your hometown, and synchronized swimming will compete in the Wheaton Invitational, while baseball plays against Monmouth. This game will again be in Cary, North Carolina.
And Griffs baseball will round things out on Monday against Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina. That's all we have for you this week. We will not be airing a new episode next week. However, you can get live updates on all your Golden Griffin teams by following us on Twitter at GriffSports_19. For Brandon Sieteski, Joe Rutigliano, and the entire crew in the studio, I'm Kyle Ferrara. This is #GriffSports.